just recorded 22 minutes with my mic muted. Like, that has got to be the worst feeling ever. Alright, so market's opening right now. NASDAQ, we're cautious. ES, we're bullish. Gonna take a trade on ES if NASDAQ performs well this on the first couple minutes in this market open. If NASDAQ comes up, instantly rejects this POC to the upside, comes up, accepts this area, and accepts this area. Probably going to end up taking a trade on ES today. Definitely not NASDAQ. There's basically an infinite number of resistances that we need to watch out for. I mean, take a look at this, right? We have resistance here. This is just a protection area from accumulation. Price comes up. This is an area. Rejects it. Price comes up. Rejects this area right here where there is volume. Price comes up, rejects this area. This is the most intense area as the market closed with the most volume, and we rejected it severely, meaning that the bias for this closure was fully agreeing that this resistance was valid, and everyone, or there was one-sided parties basically agreeing that, market was good to go down. There's a lot of volume in this area, and market just went down, right? Alright, 5 seconds until market open. So we'll see how market responds to this. If we want to respect it or not. Anywhere that matches any of these candles is fair game. I'm bearish on this market open. I'm just bearish for the day. There's just so much stuff here. It's either going to be a chop or it's going to be bearish. ES is, of course, going to be bullish, considering we made all-time highs in the Asian session. Might just be bearish due to NASDAQ. Yeah, I mean, I basically said if we're passing through here, we're likely to come down to either here or here. Stopping right here makes no sense, so, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're just going to be buying this dip and then moving farther lower. Could be a good opportunity for Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever you like buying. Right. So market's going to be moving lower, probably right here. If we can get an exact level for this, maybe this could be some kind of accumulation here, and we could maybe bounce off here. Make this green. Yeah, I mean, we don't have volume here, so a sharp move down all the way would be pretty easy to achieve, I would say. But I think that the low for the day would likely have to be here, or maybe even down here. I would expect price to continue down more. I mean, at least until we hit some kind of support. Although it doesn't happen all the time in a trending market. Expecting the opposite end of that trend to have to come into support for it to, have, it doesn't have to be clear, right? like if we're in a trending market, the market doesn't have to come all the way down to a support level for it to basically move higher. It can just be bought up by people buying the dip. Like that's basically how this works, right? When we're bullish and extremely bullish at that, people are just buying the dip all the time. Doesn't have to be some kind of aggressive buyers here. Could just be market participants just buying the dip. But if we're looking at the selling in an uptrend, I mean, why would price move higher and then come down out of nowhere without hitting resistance? In an uptrend, that's very unlikely. So it looks like we came in, rejected this area, which means that it's likely that this area is probably where the accumulation was into a continuation. It looks like the weekly high has already been made. That's also another thing that I was thinking. The high for the week is already in. Not much point in, it would be super unlikely, not impossible, for market to make a higher high today, considering the amount of things that we are seeing. If you're thinking in terms of ICT liquidity, like, they would probably be thinking, alright, we have liquidity here, and then a big gap, and then liquidity here, here, and here. Like, I don't understand why ICT thinks that retail stop losses provide enough liquidity for institutions to enter their positions. It doesn't. It really doesn't. There's literally, maybe like algorithms can do it, and not like there's not much to support their large trades. It's really just false. So this is a resistance. That's interesting. So the buyers have stopped buying at that level aggressively. So I think that we're just going to continue down more. Today is not really the best day to be trading, considering the news as well. Inflation expectations, consumer sentiment. I don't really know how much of an impact those are going to have on the market. But, considering the amount of news today, a chop is more than likely. Right. A choppy market is just, in a bullish market where there's chop, it's basically just, it's just, the price is just slowing down. If there was no bearish news, we probably wouldn't slow down in a bull market. So we know that the buyers are always going to be there in a bullish market. The only thing is, the higher we go, the less aggressive buyers there are, because liquidity is eventually going to dry up, and the people selling to those buyers are eventually going to have to overwhelm them for a little bit, especially when there's bearish news. So, like a couple of days for people to readjust is more than fair, I would say. I'm not expecting price to be, super bullish on ES. Nasdaq's of course gonna be, you know, I would expect, just a chop within this area. Um, I think the low for the day might be already in for ES. Nasdaq, I'm not so sure. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's definitely, I mean, when we come down to an area where there's pretty much no volume, um, with the opposing side of the trend pushing the price down or pushing the price in, where the trend or against the trend in a volume dead zone, we can find basically an area in which price likes to sit. Like if we're not coming down to support, it's probably likely that we're just going to be sitting here for a little bit, or continuation downward. But right now, I think that it's definitely possible we're just going to be sitting in this area. You know what I mean? It's pretty likely that we could just sit here. And just chop. If we have enough volume within this area, but right now it doesn't look like there's a lot of volume in this area. Yeah, not much at all. So, after noticing that, I mean, definitely possible we have some kind of, push downward, probably to here. Sometimes you just think that, you know, the push and the manipulation is over with. Not so much manipulation, but, just aggressive selling from, opposing participants. Sometimes you think it's over, but you just need to be confident in your idea, right? In the context given, right? And my idea originally was that we were coming down to some kind of support. It's more likely that we would come to support than not come to support and just consolidate within a range where there's no volume. Especially when market open is, opening near resistance, I would say. This isn't really resistance. Um, right, I don't. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like this was. Yeah. Alright, that makes sense. So, it was probably just accumulation. Um, and then followed by a push lower. Because that volume matching with the exact level in which price, finds its high at usually tells that this is a follow through. And by follow through, I mean, sellers accumulating their position, price comes up. If it matches that level perfectly where the volume was, we could tell that they were just accumulating so that they can sell. Or they were just accumulating and now they're protecting their sell positions by selling at that exact level. You gotta put together the puzzle pieces. You never know what's happening, but you can have an idea. You can have an idea. It's never gonna be right. I mean, maybe. There's like a very low chance that it's right. But, most of the time you're probably gonna be wrong about what you think the market moved and why it moved, because there's so many participants Um, Although most of the volume's coming from institutions, you know, you can't be sure. Maybe they're readjusting because they just want to, readjust their positions to hedge for certain things, but, you know, you're never going to know. That's the thing. You are never going to know unless you are the one making the move. This looks like, in my opinion, some kind of we just go here to here. Um, I'm thinking that we're probably just going to come up and then follow through to either here. I mean, it's definitely possible that the buyers are already stepping in. I do need to poop. I think if there's any time to poop, it's probably now. But for God's sake, the bathroom just got taken, so. Um, but yeah, there's no trades to be taken right now. Unless I'm thinking about entering on ES. But I need to be certain that the low of the day has already been made. I can actually do that. I think a perfect scenario to enter today would be if price comes all the way up, passes through here, and then after it passes through there, ES has probably already made the low for the day. So we can probably enter on a retest of that area after it comes up, and then maybe NASDAQ goes a little bit higher and then comes into resistance, get a pullback. I don't think that ES would probably pull back to that point unless, of course, NASDAQ hit a huge push down. So we're probably coming to here. I mean, I'm definitely thinking that today's probably just going to be bearish closing. Where's the weekly candle going to close? It's going to close likely within here and here. I think if I was to put the probabilities together, I would say it's more likely going to end up in somewhere in the middle, but there's also a chance that we make a lower low for the week. Making a higher high for the week is almost impossible today, in my opinion. Alright, bathroom's open, got poop.
The market is open.
Alright, we're back from taking that poop. Um, yeah, there's absolutely no chance I'm taking any trade today. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not just gonna risk it. I mean, I know what I'm doing with this kind of setup, but I think that this is honestly a really good setup for tomorrow. I mean, hopefully we come up maybe a little bit lower, I would prefer. Um, and then tomorrow, Asian session, London session keeps us around here. And then we could basically just enter if we see some bullish order flow because there's low volume in this range right here. And then we could just enter and put our take profit at, the nearest resistance, like right here. But yeah, today was definitely not the best day to trade. Definitely stay out of the market unless you're very confident with what you're doing. Yeah, that was the video. See you guys tomorrow.